Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. I'm sort of looking forward to getting back to this one. This was a game that I had right before I had to head out and get to work, and I am back now. This one is called Capping, Scouting, and Pouting. Capping, Scouting, and Pouting. Although, to be honest, the pouting part is a little bit more nuanced. We'll get to that in just a minute. I think there's a lot of goodness here, especially for a lot of the new players, and potentially as a rehack or a recaging of the gyros for a lot of us older players who've been playing. It's a mid-tier game at Tier 6. We are here on Proc, one of my favorite maps, if not my favorite map in the game. I literally could play this nearly all day, to be quite honest. Maybe chuck in a couple brawling city maps where I don't have to think too much and just go punch people in the face and then mostly proc. That would be fine. Tier 6, I'm in my 2801, 105. I'm getting close to being done with the 100 Battle Challenge on this. You can see my setup. I've got optics, a rammer, and vents, kind of a combo, a little bit of spotting and a little bit of combat capability. 11 AP, 10 heat, and 21 HE. This is the Tier 6 Premium. That was the well-deserved reward. I quite like this tank. It's a lot of fun. When it works, it really does work. So even with the HE nerfs. But what we're going to talk about today, like I said, is capping, scouting, and pouting. Now, I'm a scout, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk also about the relative reasons people play. And then we're going to get into the pouting, because I got a message afterwards. We'll get to that in just a minute, and who sent me the message. But watch the chat, because there's some people going to get salty with what I'm doing. And I'll discuss what I'm doing and why I'm doing, in an effort for some of the new players as they're kind of looking at this to get a better understanding of why a good player might be doing something that doesn't seem on the surface like what you need them to be doing. And I'll talk about why I didn't do the thing. And people who know this map are probably kind of already starting to figure out what it was I didn't do or did do. Potentially it'll become more apparent as we go. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the capping thing, because we have a situation on this particular match where we're not all in sync. We're not all playing the same game. We have some players that are playing a very different game than I am playing, and a different game than another player's playing, and I'll get into that in a minute and why it's kind of important. Mostly that's for new players to kind of understand some of the reasoning for things that are happening, and for some of us older players to kind of remember that some of the new players are really, they're playing just a different game, and we'll get into that in just a second. So we spawn into the north. It is an encounter map, and I'm going to go over here onto the 1-2 line, and I'm looking for the magic bush. Now, this isn't a fantastically great tank for the magic bush. It doesn't have really great camo on the move, and you will see that the enemy team has a T50-2, so that's the only other scout. But there's also some mediums with some decent spotting, so you can get countered trying to get to this bush very easily. And if we can zoom out here, right, I'm trying to get right here into this bush line. In addition to that, people who have played the game a little bit will understand there's somebody in there. We'll actually see this in effect in just a minute. Obviously, based on what I'm saying, I get there. My concern is that the 50-2 is going to counter me. And if the 50-2 was doing, in my opinion, what he should have been doing initially, he would have made a counter on that bush and try to see if somebody was trying to get there. But as I get closer and closer, I don't get any lights. I don't get lit. I'm not seeing the 50-2. And about the time I get here, this is the dangerous position. If he shows up now and spots me, I'm in big trouble. But if I can just get a few more feet forward, even if he shows up, it's not going to matter. This is a big, fat, light tank. It is not easy to get it into some of these bushes right here, but we actually get some lights here. You know, maybe I should make Mocha's bark my sixth sense. We get into the bush right there. We find a Jackson who's gone a little too far forward. Let me show you what I'm doing with my camera. And now we've got a M6, a KV-1S. Another thing going on in this map is that we've got 3 artillery. Alright, so I've come to this bush. I didn't get spotted. I still don't see the 50-2. And I'm getting a lot of spotting off of these guys who are out in the open, the M6 included. And you'll see that we've got a pretty good stack of players back behind me. A buggy, a Dicker Max, a 30-45, an AT-8 even further back. I don't think that AT-8 got any damage, maybe off the Jackson, but he's either still moving. Is he still moving, or he's just too far back? He is trying to get forward. And all right, so I've made a decision. That's a pretty good advantage built on the 1-2 line. I don't know where the T50-2 is. Look over on the east side of the map, folks. I'll just make this a little bigger. You can see that there's a TD up there, and that's it. Also, we haven't seen anybody on the 5-6 line. So I'm looking at this going, all right, what are my choices? Choose your own adventure, guys. What would you do right here? What would you do right here? Stay on the 1-2 line, go run the ridges for the artillery, head over to the hill and try to help the guys on the hill not get taken out. All right? I created an advantage on the 1-2 line, but again, I still don't know where the T50-2 is. For me, and I'll tell you why I'm doing it, or what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. On the one hand, I wanted to go up the bush line there and try to light some more guys and get more spotting with all my snipers. On the other, I knew that wasn't really a great idea because of multiple TDs, 3 artillery, and an unknown T50-2. So for you new players, that's the thought process right there. Yes, it would be really nice to creep through those bushes, and if it was a higher tier and I was running something with more camo than this thing has, and I had a CVS, then I might just go through the bushes and see if I can't outspot even the other scout, depending on what kind of scout it is. That would be part of the calculus. But I don't have that. I'm at a mid-tier. I don't have a CVS. All that artillery, a lot of TDs, a 50-2. I don't know where he is. So I'm actually just going to bail out of this thing. Advantage created. These guys are fine, more than likely. Look at that. Did you see the artillery go in there? Somebody was clicking on that bush. They lost 2 tanks. Somebody, either the artillery knew that or somebody was clicking on there. Had I stayed there, I would have taken that artillery shot. Whether it would have hit me and splashed me, I don't know. But I don't even have to worry about it because I'm gone. So passive to active scouting. Remember we were talking about on this one that it is going to be capping, scouting, and pouting. So now it's time to get a little active. I know we have 3 artillery. So what I want to do now is 2 things. 3 things. I'm headed over to the east side to work on the hill to see if I can't shore that up a little bit over there. I'm going to ridge run a little bit, see if I can get some artillery shots. And I want to know what the heck is going on the 5-6 line. Why is nobody spotted there? There's a T50, an M6, an M4A3 on our side. They're all kind of milling about over there, and nothing's going on the enemy side, on the south side, 5-6 line. If there is nobody on their side on the 5-6 line, my work up on the hill is going to become much easier because I'm going to be able to come up there and get some spots. And if I do happen to get spotted, I won't get immediately deaded by the guys hanging out in the 5-6. So that actually bodes well. So I'm doing multiple things on my move here. We're going to ridge run. I'm like, okay, that's really, really weird. Nobody in the middle. And then as I come over to the 5-6 line, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'm not lit. There is nobody there. So we're going to head off this way. Artillery's going in. We come up and over. A43 is kind of poking. Now, I know the A43 is the guy we need to deal with. I am watching the 1-2 line. You know, if things start going south there, maybe I change what I'm doing. But what have they done? What has the 5-6 line done? Nothing. They're still sitting there. They got mediums. They could actually get up into this area here near the bowl, do a little poking. You know why they're not doing it? Because they don't want to get hit by M44s. Well, neither do I. That's why I didn't go down the bushes in the 1-2 line. And right now, I know I can come up here and work these bushes, provided I can get rid of this A43. All right? Capping, scouting, and pouting. Working the scouting part. We'll talk about the capping in a minute. Clearly, you can see that this is an encounter map, and you're probably going to guess what is happening or what will happen here eventually. So I'm going to spot that guy, and all of a sudden I see a bunch of dudes up top, and this is kind of what I was worried about. There's the T50-2. So I found him. Okay, fair enough. I really would like to get rid of this A43. Artillery comes in and gives me a little spank. So their attention is over here. And I am working this back and forth, attempting to figure out how do we get rid of this A43 so that I can start working on the rest of the guys on the hill. The rest of the team is fine, right? If we look at the 1-2 line, not much going on. The AT8 looks like he wants to go scout by fire. We have a good number of their tanks, looks like 4 of them trapped up here. Counting the 3 artillery, that's 7 of what's left. 2 dead, that's 9. That leaves 6 guys wandering around somewhere. And we're going to just keep working and try to get a shot on the A43. Peek up there, not happening. You know why I can use this side over here? The only reason I can use this side of the hill is that they don't have anybody on the 5-6 line. This is absolutely deadly if there's guys on their side, but there just isn't. So these are all pieces of SA, one of the reasons I'm doing this. And I haven't paid too close attention to the chat, whether they've started barking about it yet, but they're very irritated that the scout has left. We're up to 2,300, 2,400. We're shredding guys that are hanging out. We'll keep working it. I really want to get rid of this A43. Can't quite get a shot. I decided not to come up and over for a couple reasons. I didn't want to get hit by artillery. I didn't want 2 or 3 guns in the bush hit me. And he bails off, so perfect. Created a great situation over here for us. Hellcat's getting some shots on him. Still nobody has showed up on the 5-6 line. Artillery is beating up, as you can see, the poor AT-8, and he gets deaded. And he says, F you, team. All right? They're not happy. So the artillery's working on these guys. I'm up to 2,805. All right, pick your own adventure. What's your plan here? I'm looking at this. I'm like, all right, let's clean up this hill. Then we're going to make a decision. Either we're going to push down into the southeast and come around in behind them and work on whatever might be there, or we're going to clean up this hill. I'm going to come off the hill, go back to the middle, and work my way over to the 1-2 line and work on spotting right there. That's the scouting part. We need to kill him. Great, he dies. Back out of this. I get lit. Avoid the Thunderbolt. The Sturv is kind of up there getting spotted and hit. And now we're trying to figure out how we get rid of the Thunderbolt, who has 417 hit points. So that's a couple hits from me. It's going to take a while to do that. I have to be careful. If I hit him in the front, it's not going to do a whole bunch. And what ends up happening here is I actually find an M44 making a runner. He gets up and over. That guy comes up and spots me. And then all of a sudden there's a Hellcat. So like, holy cow. I think I actually missed, or do I hit him? Nope, I actually missed him. That's unfortunate. 2 misses from him, though. That works for me. And then he bails off. Looks like he headed off the edge. I thought I might light him here, but he's already gone down on the other side of the ridge. Okay. Campers, blacklisted. There's, a whole bunch of comm going on over there. They are attempting to move up, so that's fine. The Buggy and the WZ have moved up, but notice they've run into a bunch of camping TDs right there. And now let's talk about capping. All right, capping, scouting, capping, and pouting. Or capping, scouting, and pouting. I guess is how I did it with my little rhyme. 3 guys jump on cap. These three are all less than 3,000 battles. Not very good win rates. Brand new players. Brand new in terms of experience. I don't know if the accounts were made 10 years ago or whatever, but very low battle count. They're just looking for a win. This is the whole discussion earlier. We have a bunch of people playing a very different game. Those 3 are just like, okay, I'm trying to grind a tank. I might even be stock or less than fully upgraded. I'm a 47% player. I only have 3,000 battles. I just want to win a daggum game. Then I can get my double and I can get some experience and I can move on to the next one, right? So 3 guys, they're all on cap. I'm playing a different game. I'm at 3,700 assist. I want to gobble up a bunch more damage and assist. I want to work on the mark on this tank. I want this tank to be as good or to have as good a game as possible. I want my win 8 to be high. I am playing a different game. I've got this thing 2 marks now, so hey, maybe we can even start working on the 3rd mark. Yada yada. The Buggy. I'm going to get a note from him. We'll talk about that in a minute when we get to that point. He's about a 51% player, average player. He's trying to win and get better, and he wants to get damage over on the 1-2 line. And the scout left. So he's having a hard time. They're kind of getting beat up, pushing into all of their campers. I understand that. We only had 1 scout on the team. I can only be in one place at one time. I started over there, got an advantage, came over, checked out what was going on in the middle, nothing, got up on the hill, started winning the hill. Cappers starting to get on the cap, and I'm not really paying close attention to it. I'm thinking, all right, how do we get rid of this Thunderbolt? Let's push up and over and figure that out. Then there's the Hellcat, and I'm like, well, shoot, I can't fight the Hellcat in the Thunderbolt, or at least I don't want to. I probably should have just gone after the Thunderbolt, hit him as I went down the hill and get away from the Hellcat. Good news is he's kind of missing. Artillery goes in there and starts shooting at the Thunderbolt, and that's where I noticed, like, there's the Buggy. If only we had a scout. You guys can watch all the chat that goes on, right? And then this is where I noticed that, holy cow, we're going to cap this thing out. Dadgummit. If only you had a scout, blah, 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 win the game, F you. Everyone's very angry over on the 1-2 line. Okay. Capping, scouting, and pouting. There's a lot actually going on in this one little game that ended early with not a lot of guys taken off the board, not a whole lot of damage, other than I have a pretty good assist going on. And I think it's kind of important actually for new players and older players to both look at and go, all right, these are the kind of the two sides, even three sides, if you consider the 50% or 51% are trying to get better at the game and figure things out and all that kind of stuff. Not everybody on your team or the enemy team is playing the same game. That is hard to keep track of, and the better you get, the harder I think it is, because you start to believe that, all right, I'm good at the game, so my way is generally the better way. That's a whole different video, probably a whole different video, but it's important to remember that and understand that. I don't think the three guys who are capping are really thinking about whether they're taking a bunch of damage and assist and possible marks away from people. It's highly likely at that number of battles they have no idea. They may not even know that there's really stats in the game. We talk about it here because I am hoping that eventually, and I think it's happened in the past, that some of those players will show up on this channel and look at it and try to figure out these things. So maybe this type of video can help them out to understand, what some of the medium to higher order ideas and gameplay are in World of Tanks. So if they're interested in that, they can move on, or at least understand why players might get salty. And then, of course, the middle of the road players who are getting better and trying to figure out exactly the same thing. And it also comes into play with the whole chasing people in the garage and saying stuff. So give me a second, and we'll call up this little discussion. All right, the purpose is not to get on this guy's case. If it was a case, it's the old those who live in glass houses kind of idea. If it was the case that I had never got on someone's bad side for barking at them, chatting at them, then I could come in and say, you know what, this guy is a terrible person and he did the wrong thing. But that is not the case. I am much, much better in the last 3 years, especially since becoming a CC. In fact, I don't know if I've ever, in fact, I know I have not initiated a chat like this in the garage. So he calls me an a-hole. Hey, whatever, I like the competitiveness of the game. I don't care if people get a little salty or get into it, kind of thing. And if you do have an honest argument against something I did, maybe I was being an a-hole. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've done that. Been one, even in the recent past. Sometimes you just plain old make mistakes, right? Part of instructing and getting better at something is realizing that you're not perfect and you do make mistakes. It's one of the critical things to being able to learn right there. So he starts off with that. Ideally, you don't start off with that, and I wrote why. And then I didn't really hear anything from him for about 3 minutes, as you can see, and I said, serious question, what did I do wrong? I had an inkling of what he was angry about, but I wanted to find out if what I was thinking was it. And this is the buggy driver. So he was obviously irritated. You were our only eyes in the 1-2 line. We had some early success. Just as we were ready to push, you took off for the hill and left us behind. I get you spotted for a ton of damage, but we had unfinished work on this line, and your vision is key to success of the line. You know that. I see a record. You aren't dumb. All right, so there's actually some truth and some bad timing involved in that note. In terms of truth, yes, if I could spot them and they could move through, then that would be good. If you remember back to that portion of the game, though, there were still a lot of guns in the game and several unknown things like the 50-2, the hidden TDs, the 3 artillery. In my opinion, it simply wasn't time for me to go push the 1-2 line. Yes, we got a little bit of success, and sometimes I think that draws people in, and then they make a mistake being over-aggressive. I decided, hey, all the things we talked about, check the middle, check the 5-6 line, go help the hill over there. That's what I decided to do. So I respond to, the hill needed help. They were getting torn up, so I went to sort it, pushing into a bunch of campers to help. And this is where I throw a little insult. Okay, so to help a bunch of campers when I didn't know where the T50-2 was not a good idea. Had we not capped, I was coming back that way. The advantage on the 1-2 line was sorted early, and I was lucky their T50-2 was bad, even though I wrote T20-2. So I'm just going to throw out there, here's what I was thinking. He answered the question, all right, fine. And then I filled in a little more. When I went by the 5-6 line, didn't spot any there. I knew the easiest move was to take out the hill campers, and then the 1-2 line is gravy. We had 3 very new players, unfortunately, with less than 3K battles each, who decided to cap, or we would have had a much bigger game. I didn't know that at the time. After the game, I had to figure out. I had a suspicion when what happened, And that's exactly what happened. They were brand new players, capping, playing a different game than he and I were. Okay, playing a different game than Respect the Beaver and Guido was playing. We left friends, I think. Fair enough. Maybe a strategy share while we were chirping at you would have helped. Possibly. It's a good point, actually, and a valid point and well taken. If you do have time, and frankly, I didn't notice their chirping. So that's a part of the cross-check. I kind of ignore chat to some extent because it tends to be a lot of chirping and crying and whining, but not a bad idea, actually. And I know a couple of very good players in CC swear by it, that if you just put a little bit of data in there about what you're doing, oftentimes that can make a big difference in a game. So there you go. Point well taken, and I'll take that with me. I'm hoping he's taking some of the things that I put down right there to heart as well, and potentially we can both come out of this being a better player. All right? So again, it has nothing to do with calling the guy out on Call Me a Name. I seriously do not care. It is not the worst name I've ever been called. It will not be the last time I'm called that or worse, and I really don't care. I think when you go on and on about not caring, maybe you do, but I'm honest. I'm being honest. I just whatever, man. Let me actually. I'm going to modify that slightly. I do care because we engaged, but I thought maybe we could hopefully come to some kind of understanding. Maybe I type the first one in, why serious question, and he just starts calling me different names, right? And talks about my, proclivity for, whatever, vegetables or something. And that happens. And if so, then you move on. But the hope when you're trying to teach somebody or be kind of an instructor, even in a silly pixel tank game, is that maybe there's an opening and they come back and then you can have a dialogue, right? And we save the world in a pixel tank. So let's not make too much of it. But at the end of the day, I thought this worked out pretty nicely for us. It was a good game. I really wish those three guys down there could see this and just consider maybe next time, break, maybe they had a capping mission. Okay, fine. That's unfortunately part of the game, but you can't know that. I kind of doubt it. I think they were more than likely just looking for a win, but maybe now they will look at that and go, okay, we were kind of in the driver's seat here. We had great map control. The scout was cleaning up the hill. He was about to give us a bunch more shots. Let's not cap this. Let's try to take these guys down a little bit more. We get more experience, more credits, more damage, more assists, blah, blah, blah. That would require them playing closer to my game than me playing their game, and at their skill level, maybe they're not quite there. So like I said, there's a lot going on, guys. We got capping, scouting, and pouting, although, like I said, the pouting part's modified slightly. The last bit there was hours later. Well, actually, it was at 10:14. I'd already left. So his last note I had left, and I found that when I got back here. And I sent one more thing. It said, no worries, kind of thing. So there you go. There's a lot going on that. Let me know what you think down there in the comments about that. Hopefully there's something there for everybody, even the old heads and the new ones. All right, that is all I've got for today. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you.